Welcome to Grammar 62 Time Expressions and Tenses.
Hello everyone. Thanks for joining us for today's Grammar Masterclass number 62. I'll pass you over to our host Matthew Parkinson.
Hello. Thank you, Fred our MC, for the introductions. I would now like to extend a warm welcome to our guests and our viewers. Hello students of Languages 247.
Good evening to you all. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me on your wonderful grammar show.
Good evening everyone. Thanks for having me on the grammar show.
Time expressions and tenses. There are many words and expressions that can be used to refer to time. We can use the following time expressions to sequence events. They enable us to tell stories and share anecdotes in a more interesting way.
The present, permanent. We use the present simple tense to refer to permanent situations in the present. I now spend most of my time reading. Nowadays it is difficult to live without internet.
These days I don't seem to have time to socialize much. The present, temporary. We use the present continuous tense to refer to temporary situations in the present. At present. At the moment, I'm sharing a flat. For the time being I'm living in a flat share.
For talking about a period of time in the past we can use the following time expressions and tenses. He started working for them back in the 90s. In those days they all lived in France. Back then workers had fewer days off.
At that time nobody believed him. Talking about a single event in the past. At one time she competed in free-ride skiing. On one occasion she won a regional skiing championship.
Sequencing events in the past. We can use many expressions to sequence events in the past. Here are some commonly used time expressions, followed by examples. This will enable you to see where to place the time expressions in a sentence.
1. We can use after in the middle of a sentence. For instance, I will go for a run after I finish work. 2. We can use afterwards at the beginning of a sentence. For instance, we went swimming. Afterwards, we went to the sauna.
3. Afterwards is equivalent to after that, and similar to after a while. Both these time expressions are placed at the beginning of a sentence. Examples. We went swimming. After that, we went to the sauna.
We went swimming. After a while, we got bored and went to the sauna. 4. We can use then or before either at the beginning of a sentence or in the middle of a sentence. Examples, I stretched. Then I went for a run. Before running, I like to stretch.
5. Before that, previously. Until then are similar in meaning. They must be placed at the beginning of a sentence. I had always disliked sport before that. I had previously worked for their main competitor. Until then I didn't know which to choose.
6. By the time, is placed in the middle of a sentence or beginning of a sentence. For instance, I had learned so much English by the time I left London. By the time the firemen arrived, the house had already burned down.
7. By then and by that time mean the same and are both to be placed at the beginning of a sentence. The match ended quite late. By then I was glad to leave. By the time they were living very different lives.
8. Other expressions used to refer to the next event in a story include, at that moment, before long, at the same time equals simultaneously, suddenly, later on. Some examples, at that moment, the door slammed.
Before long, the waitress came up and asked what we wanted for dessert. Suddenly the alarm went off. Later on I went to the cinema. Meanwhile, the band was playing.
9. When we refer to people that are no longer around, that no longer occupy a position or that have deceased, we use a variety of expressions. Some examples. The ex-prime minister. A previous supplier. A former boss of mine. My late wife.
That's all folks for this evening. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.